I'm Amy, and today Taja is actually doing behind the camera, behind the scenes stuff because we've got a special guest today. It's very exciting. Christie-Lee STEM is here with us. She called us the day we recorded our first ever episode. So she's been with us from kind of the start, which is really great. And I feel like our listeners know or slightly semi-know her.
My name's been mentioned a few times.
Yeah, and it's that whole adage of long-time listener, first-time caller, but
yes,
reverse.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yes, yeah.
That's me.
Tasha's waving her hands around going, no, it's the other way. So I'd
Not
like
for
to
us,
say,
it's not.
yeah. So she has been a great support and has been listening from the start, which is really great. But we thought we'd have her on because she has been mentioned. She's like a myth at the moment. No one knows too much about her. And
the elusive Christie-Lee.
So we thought we'd get her on because she's got a great history, work history, and no one knows much about where she's been. So I thought I'd ask you your first question.
Sure.
Tell us about yourself and your history of work.
Okay, so I'm Christie-Lee. I'm Amy's friend, firstly. And I'm 36. I'm from the Gold Coast. I own an adult dance business. And I have had a large array of jobs. So I've been a singing and dancing teacher. I've been in childcare. I used to work at the mini lab, which was so cool. I worked at a laundromat. Did you really not know that?
No.
I worked at Pacific mini lab. It's one of the best jobs I've ever had.
You weren't allowed to look at the photos though, were you?
Yeah, we were. You had to look at the photos. I wasn't the one altering the photos, but every single photo, there was like the supervisor of that, the mini lab. Such a tangent here. But they would have to sit in front of the computer and they had to either lighten or darken every single shot. So they would, if there was like celebrities or something, they would copy it and like, here's Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian at East nightclub. Take this home. Seriously. That happened. Anyway, and then I've also worked at an oil refinery as a trade assistant, mainly for welders, pipe welders, and pipe fitters.
So that's probably the one we're going to talk about most today, because I think it's quite interesting. The very, like myself and like everybody in the room, has had a varied career in lots of different industries. But for oil refineries, we actually haven't really talked about that on our podcast yet, and being a woman as well in the oil refinery. So what were some of your roles and responsibilities within the oil refinery?
So the first job, I was what's called a Peggy. So I was cleaning the huts where the workers ate, getting the tea, coffee, sugar, bringing them their lunches. And then one job I wasn't able to do that, so I ended up being a trade assistant. I wasn't working with the tradesmen at that point. We were sort of setting things up for the night shift. So that was an easy way to get into it. Then I ended up being a TA, trade assistant, fire watcher. But that was a jump up because I was doing something I'd never done before in a dangerous environment with people who'd been doing it for decades. And being a woman in a very male-dominated industry, there were times where you would get looked down on and like, why are you here? You don't have a trade, you're making such good money, blah-de-blah-de-blah. So I was a bit apprehensive when I first started because I literally knew nothing, zero information. And I was really lucky that I got with good people who were really kind and respectful and helped me so much. And if I wasn't strong enough or if I wasn't tall enough, they would help me out. And I learnt a lot and ended up doing that on and off for nearly 10 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah. Wow. So what's the craziest situation you witnessed or experienced at work at the oil refinery? And I know that we had a few stories around this.
Yeah. The craziest one was probably, I'll go back to the start. So I worked mainly for in Brisbane. And I ended up getting a job in Geelong. Is very great with their safety. They're really onto everything. So I'm glad that I had that background. So when I went to Geelong, the safety was not very great. So I went down to this job in Geelong and worked with a welder who he had never worked with a female TA before. Took him a little while to sort of get to like me, and towards the end of the job, he started failing his welds. So every single weld gets x-rayed to make sure that it's not going to leak. So he had failed multiple welds and he just got the shits at this point. So this was, I think it was only a few days until the end of this shutdown, and we were working in what's called the alkylation unit, which is the most dangerous unit in the whole refinery. You've got to have special gloves, you've got to have these special goggles, and there's quite a big process. You can't just go over here and weld. There you have to get a permit. You have to build what they call a humpy. Sounds funny, but it's it's leather blankets that you put around the area to contain the welding glare, the sparks, all that sort of stuff. So you would build the humpy, make sure the area is contained, and then you would go and speak to an operator. Operators, they are the bosses of the units. So they work there full time, 12-hour shifts, and they know all the ins and outs of that unit. So you would then go and get an operator, you would get a gas test, and then make sure that everything's good for you to start working. So this particular day, we were in the Alky unit. I think we would have had a permit, because you can't get in there without one. So we would have had a permit, but he didn't give me time to build the humpy. He had not gotten a gas test, and he was just in this unit grinding away. And I was pretty strict, I suppose, when it came to safety, and I wouldn't go, oh, like, we'll just leave that. That's fine. I pulled his electricity. I went up to my supervisor and said, he's just started grinding with all this XYZ, doing all the wrong things. I will not work with him. I need to be put with someone else. And I don't even think I saw him after that. I can't remember whether he got fired, because that's like a fireable offence in there. Because if something wafts through and then it's an ignition source, see you later, Geelong. So yeah, I was always pretty pedantic about my safety, because I wanted to go home safe, I wanted my tradesmen to go home safe, and I wanted everyone to be safe. And I didn't care whether you got the shoots with me or not, I was doing it.
So with the Humpty building...
Humpty.
I was listening, I promise you.
She's gone straight to the nursery rhyme.
Anyway, I really did. I went there. I went to the nursery rhyme, in case you didn't hear Tarja. So was that kind of equipment always up to snuff, like the kit?
No. Not too bad.
Okay.
But I would make sure I got the good blankets, because they had little eyelets on them. So they would, over time, be ripped, and we would have to use either zip ties or these, just think like laundry pegs, but metal and big. And if they were old, they were extremely hard to sort of open, and because you have to put it on anything that you had. If there was like a little wheel, you'd put on there, or if there was scaffold, you just had to figure out where to put it. So no, it wasn't, and there was a lot of people who didn't really care about their humpy building, but I had operators say to me, like, yours are the best, because I made sure that everything, there was no gaps anywhere, and if I had to use 25 blankets, I didn't care, because I wanted that area to be safe, not just for the sparks and whatnot, but if you're working at heights and there's a gap, and you know your blankets just disappear, and then you've got stuff that's fallen down, and so just got to be hyper vigilant, just constantly in that environment.
Wow. So once you're set up and you're ready to go, so you're spotting there?
Yeah, so you would stay, mainly I would stay outside of the humpy, because if there's a fire, which happened, a very little fire, but it did happen in the first day, actually. I was fire watching.
Welcome to the job.
Yeah. And thankfully my welder was onto it, and I was like,
okay.
But that was the only time it happened.
But
yeah, you've got to really like stand outside and just make sure that everything's fine. But I went a little bit above, and I would prepare things that they needed. So I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning about welding. That sounded weird, but I enjoyed it, and I would prepare the rods, or like if I knew that they needed some sort of tool, I'd have that ready so that they're just ready to go.
Yeah.
And just made it easy for them. And I ended up having welders ask to work with me because they knew that I was going to do my job well and not sort of just sit there and earn good money and go, I don't care about this.
So you earned a good reputation by being, I guess, pedantic about safety?
Yeah. Well, I
In a
didn't
good
want
way.
to go in because there were girls that, okay, the first thing about oil refineries, it's so much nepotism. It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my job through that. My cousin's husband was a supervisor and I had debt from my dance course, and anyway, ended up getting in that way. So I wanted to not be like, oh, I'm a girl, I don't want to break my nails and get dirty, whatever. I was there to work because I knew how, my very first week as a Peggy in that industry, and I remember getting my, what's it called, pay slip, and looking at it and just going, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Yes, I just always wanted to, I didn't want anyone to say to me, why is she here?
Yeah.
She's a stupid girl that doesn't know anything, is not doing her job. So I always made sure I was not over the top, but I was doing a good job.
Yeah. So from your first week, then going into, say, the first 6 months and then to a year, when did it feel like you go, right, I feel like I've got this. I understand this job. I'm ready to go. I don't need to feel like, ooh, every time I come back, I'm still like not confident. You're confident, you know what you're doing.
I was confident in my ability to know what to do.
Yeah.
But I was never completely confident in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, always just so aware of what was going on. Because you would come and start a job, and then you have smoko, and you come back, and there might be a scaffold that's built right next door, and that's impacting your job. Or it was constantly things changing all the time. So yeah, definitely I knew what I was doing, but you're always just on guard to make sure that everything's okay. And
adaptability then, because things keep changing.
Yeah.
You need to sort of be always hyper aware of your surroundings and everything.
Yeah, but you also sometimes don't know the changes either. So I had one job where there was a massive 10-inch, extremely heavy pipe. And there we were, I don't know how many levels up, 6 or 7 stories up. And there was 2 humpies. So there were 2 welds on the one pipe. So I was over here working under this, like literally under the pipe. It was only yay high. And there was another humpy over here. And for whatever reason, nobody understands, but there was a rigger who undid the slings holding up one side of the pipe.
Oh, right. Wow.
So I'm under this, not knowing that he's let go of that. And he ended up getting fired. I don't think that was an accumulation of things that he did, but I just thought if something happened, I would have died immediately because that pipe would have dropped, and there was no reason for him to do that.
Yeah.
We had no authority to do that.
And
but I had no idea because the humpy was closed. So this was closed over here, and it's so noisy up there too, so you don't always know if someone just gone in and moved some slings around, so like they're making much noise. So,
no 2 ways or anything to talk to the other team? Or yelling out?
Well, he just went and did it. So I don't even think he knew that I was in there anyway. Well, I don't think he knew I was in there, but he had no reason to do that.
Yep.
So, yeah, I can't remember exactly how we found out, but people weren't happy about it.
Sure, including yourself.
Including me.
Because you wouldn't have been recording today.
A bit upset.
Because you would have died and we wouldn't be here talking about that near miss.
Yeah, just silly decisions from people.
Yeah.
It happened.
Well, and you can't really control human behaviour at the end of the day.
No, exactly.
You can have policies and procedures in place, but it sounds like it's just, I've decided to do this today.
Most people were great. Most people were great.
Course.
We had the odd bod that was not doing the right thing.
So I guess we've covered off that question. Have you ever had a close call or a dangerous situation? I'm just glancing at my questions.
I've got another one though.
Okay, tell me.
So this day I was in the Alki unit in Brisbane, so that most dangerous unit in the whole refinery.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe 1 or 2 levels up, and I'd been working there 8 years on and off. So I worked shutdowns mainly. So it'd be like 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks. I did work there for a whole year at one point, but it was just little jobs. So I worked there on and off for about 8 years at that point.
Yeah.
And there was this massive, loud bang. And things like that did happen, and the amount of times the alarm went off and we were out at the muster point, like it happened enough. But there was no alarm, and then people in my crew that were with me were sort of thinking, okay, what's going on? And then must have been 10 seconds after the first one, a second one went off. And that's when I thought, I'm going to die. And I've never, ever felt like that before, thankfully. It was horrible. So we just ran down as quickly as we could, as safe as we could. And people were just walking through the refinery, just like it's a normal day. And we were going, what the hell is going on?
Wow.
And I think it was my work dad who said, oh, it's just a pressure release. And that was it. That was the end of the conversation. And I remember walking, I finished the shift, walked outside, called my mum, and I just burst into tears and said, I thought I was going to die.
Wow.
And it was horrible. So from like thinking about it now, the amount of inductions that I did at that place, every single job, even if you'd worked there for a shutdown for 6 weeks and then the next job started in 2 weeks, you'd have to do another induction.
Yeah.
So I did so many inductions, watched so many safety videos, and I think that that's because I'd never heard that working there in all that time. That something should have been mentioned to people like, oh, there's this pressure release that go on every now and then. Like, don't worry, the alarm's going off. Obviously, you worry.
Yeah.
But there's also things that happen too that happen like this. So when there's a big bang, you're not going, oh, I'm just going to wait for the alarm to go and see what's going on. You're like, what the fuck is happening? I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
But you can't, because it's so big, it's like a different world. You can't just walk a couple of metres and you're out of the refinery. It takes 15 minutes to get back to the crib hut to eat at lunch, depending on where you are. So it was definitely a scary day, that's for sure.
So the dangerous unit, the LP unit, does that stand for anything?
Alkylation.
Oh, okay.
Don't ask me what it means.
Okay, because I was thinking acronyms, being where I am at the moment. There's 1,001.
There's so many acronyms in the refinery. I can't remember them now. It's been a while since I've been there, but yes, lots of acronyms.
Lots of acronyms.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So that would have been scary because there's no explanation, or the explanation was so short.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. Pressure release.
I had been working there for like 30-something years at that point, so it's like, it's just normal.
It's almost didn't register for him.
No.
The sounds of it.
There's so many other people too, because when I just remember we got down and everyone's walking around normally and we're looking out.
Yeah.
What's happened?
Yeah.
It's happened here.
Again, you could have died.
I could have died. Well, maybe not from the pressure release, but I thought I was going to. So yeah.
What was something surprising at the oil refinery, maybe in your first week or just across the time that you're there, that maybe people that, like myself, I would assume that I'd never end up at an oil refinery, but never say never. But, people that don't know that job don't understand it as much as probably what they think they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually am not sure. Probably just being such a dangerous environment, how certain, a very small amount, but just how certain people just had the she'll be right. Amy had a hat on yesterday that said she'll be right, but had that she'll be right attitude.
I really did.
Yeah. And I got into arguments with a couple of people because they weren't doing what I asked. So when there's very much hierarchy in that place. Mm-hmm. So you got the Caltex employees, and then you got the contractors, and then you got us down the bottom that were out in the unit. And the tradesmen, when the tradesmen are working and you're out there fire watching, you actually are the boss at that time.
Yeah.
So there'll be times where they're grinding away and I'm yelling out like, stop, because you've got to yell in that place, but so much noise and earplugs and whatever, and they just wouldn't. And that's when, again, I take their power out and go, there's sparks flying everywhere. If an operator comes over, I'm in the shit actually. Yeah. That's the other thing. I'm the boss, but I'm also responsible. Yeah. So, yeah, probably just people being silly.
Yeah.
And I just thought, why? You're not like, yes, things can take a bit longer, but do you want to go home to your 2 kids and your wife? Or do you want to end your days here?
Yeah.
I just didn't understand the mentality of it.
So confronting, doing that, pulling the power, and they haven't listened to you, and then there's probably sometimes confrontation, with certain people, not all the time, but I reckon there'd be, I could be assuming here, but confrontation.
Yeah.
Is that then when you go to your boss or the supervisor or whatever
I think I
and
only
say,
went to the boss once, but I knew I was in the right.
Yeah.
So I wasn't, like, I think I said earlier, if they're going to be annoyed with me, so be it.
Yeah. You're not being unreasonable.
No, but I would stand my ground.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if I had to go to a supervisor. It was just that sort of one time. But
Yeah.
no, I just, it's like, no, not taking your shit.
Yeah. You're the boss.
I'm the boss. So do what I say.
Should be right.
No, we don't want that attitude.
Such a cowboy attitude. What's the most important safety lesson you've learned, I guess, from the oil refinery? We'll talk about that and we'll maybe close that off, if there's anything that, we can move on to some other things. But
Now I just forgot what you said.
Oh, what's the... Why don't you listen to me?
Sorry.
We have been friends for quite some time now, so we do just
Give each other shit.
Yeah, all the time. Come up last night. Why don't you listen to me?
Like, I'm looking, but I still don't know.
Yeah, I know. You don't know where I'm up to. So she's looking at the all the list of questions. But she's like, I don't know what one you asked.
Sorry. Can you please repeat the question?
Now I feel like I'm on a game
show. Yep. Jinx.
So what's the most important safety lesson you've learned?
I just think being aware, and like you said, adapting to the environment and just constantly looking around. I was always writing down hazards as well, so it's just always front of mind for me. And I just think if you're going to be in that industry and you want to go home every day, you have to have that mentality.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're putting yourself and so many other people at risk.
Yeah. What was the ratio of females to males?
Ooh, 0.15.
Oh
No, it was very.
It was such a quick answer. I was like,
very low. So, I'm just thinking of
even within your team, like if you've got a team or a unit.
I'll just go off like one job. I'll go off the year job that I was on.
Okay.
At the end of the job, so we were on a project and then we went into a shutdown. So more people joined towards the end, but there were maybe 2 other females in our company. Yeah. As contractors. And then there's quite a few females in the office. Yep. Not heaps, but a few.
Yeah.
There was maybe 2 operators in the whole place that were female, and maybe a couple of engineers, but it's definitely male dominated. So crazily male dominated.
Just to highlight, if there's 2 in your whole company, how many in the company total?
Oh, they had people all over the world. So I couldn't tell you exactly, but
so in your operating group, how many would be in your standard operating group during a shutdown? Do you think? Be 50 more than?
No, less.
Less? 30?
20?
No. I reckon there'd be 5.
5, and so 1. So 1 in 5.
Oh, sorry. I mean 5 females. If you've got on a normal shutdown, let's put Peggy's in. Actually, let's go to my first one.
Okay.
My first one.
Sure.
So if you've got, I think on that job, there was about 600 workers that were actually on the unit. So that's not taking into account the admin and the supervisors and whatnot. So out of that 600, I think the only females that were there, I might be wrong, were the Peggies. And there was maybe 6 of us out of that.
Yeah, right.
So not many at all. So I remember walking into, they had 2 crib huts of 100 on my very first job. And I remember walking in and you open the door and you just had all these people just turn and look at you, and it was one of the most confronting things
Yeah, right.
I've ever had to deal with. And you kind of like, oh, go to now. I learnt on that job to make friends quickly, and I'm not like a flirty person, so I wasn't like trying to get attention that way by any means, but I just thought I'm just going to be myself and make connections, and did. And that sort of helped me get jobs as well, because people would work with me and go, yeah, and then go, oh, we're doing another job over here. Like, here's the manager, the supervisor's number or whatever. And yeah,
So it's
just,
a network of people that you just have to kind of keep getting in with.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And I wasn't always in the clique, but I just thought I need to connect with the right people, and having my cousin's husband there as a supervisor, that was a help.
Yeah.
So I felt I was a bit protected with him there, and then ended up having my work dad, and just got in with the right people.
Yeah. Because I guess that's an interesting word, protected, because what age were you when you joined the oil refinery?
21.
So still quite young.
21?
Yeah.
Yes. 22,
You'd finished
22, because I was 21 in my full-time course. So 22.
Yeah, okay. So so you're still very young. And I'm just thinking from the perspective of maybe others that are looking to join or may never join, but might find that very confronting, like you said, walking in and just everyone looking at you, and you're one of 5 females that are joining. You might have been that put off, you would have went home.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not for you, this is not for, and being...
The money was... the money is what gets you and keeps you coming back.
But yes, being in the right, finding your people within that job and having that right network.
Yeah.
But yes, like, that's a lot of men to be around. And for, I guess, any female walking into any room, that could be quite confronting still. You could be the most confident female in the world, but it is still quite confronting.
Yeah.
And you don't want to feel unsafe?
No. And you did have people there that were like, you should be here type vibe. Never said anything. But
they had that.
You hear whispers and, the refinery is worse than 15-year-olds in high school.
Yeah, right.
The gossiping that goes on with 45-year-old men is crazy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Truck drivers and yardies. I swear to God, men are way worse.
Way worse than women.
They do.
Yes.
Women will at least admit to it and be like, yeah, I spoke about you. What about it?
Yeah. But men are like more covert.
No, my wife told me.
The smoking,
Your wife just know me.
That's apparently where the gossip.
The smoking hut.
Started.
Oh, classic.
Yeah.
Yes. Always.
Yeah, you can pass the time of day and go, oh, did you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever have to stop work? Besides the ones that you just said where you pulled their electricity, but there's, from up above with with stopping work, and we've shut down the whole oil refinery.
Yeah, there would have been, the amount of times, I think I said earlier, that we went out to the muster.
Yeah.
There was one time in Geelong, this was the weirdest day in the history of weather.
Oh.
So I'm not used to Melbourne. I visit Melbourne, but I come back home. So Melbourne weather, I call it bipolar weather.
Yeah.
So in this one day, it was like sunny, and then it went to 60-kilometre winds, whereas where they went, go run back to the crib hut, there was bits of timber flying from 4 levels up, and then it rained, and then it was back to sunny again. So it's all in the one day.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So yeah, that was one day when they just went, no, it's too dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Or when it rained, we couldn't be out there because the ladders were slippery, the scaffold was slippery, and it'd be like a drizzle, and everyone's like, hey, back to the crib hut.
Oh, does it feel like rain soon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everyone's on the weather app and checking it out. And
I can feel moisture in there.
yeah.
I'm basically getting rained on right now.
Yeah.
Time to stop work.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, cool. And was there something in your role that everyone did no matter what to keep safe?
Most people were pretty good. They were very strict with if you don't wear your glasses, you get fined. If you don't have your earplugs, you get fined. If you roll up your sleeves, you get fined. Can't have your phone in there. So most people would have the standard glasses and earplugs, and obviously you've got to have long sleeve, long pants. steel cap boots. You'd have the odd person, it's like steamy hot out there when you're in overalls.
Mhm.
And they roll up the sleeves and whatnot. But yeah, most people did the standard thing because people would be onto you about it because people everywhere all the time. So yeah, the standard things.
You got supervisors checking. You've got people from all sorts of departments walking through.
Yeah.
Higher ups and whatever. So they're expecting to see the culture that is.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. This is what we're saying you should be doing.
Yeah, but when people are supervisors that are not doing the right thing, then
Is there anything else while you're at the oil refinery that you'd like to tell us before you move on?
no.
Is there any advice you'd give to someone going into the job?
Oh,
Yeah.
No, I will say I do miss it.
Tasha's question.
I do
Interesting.
miss it at times because it was you're spending so much time with these people. I suppose it would be like working on a movie. You're working such long hours in close proximity to these people, and you become really close. And they might be from Adelaide, and you're from the Gold Coast, and then you only see them on the next job. And I do miss that sort of community that we had, and I wanted to leave to go and do things that I was more passionate about. I say to you and I say to other people, I've got all this knowledge about welding that no one else understands, and all these phrases and how things work, and can only talk about that with people that I worked with. So there's things that I miss.
Yeah.
But with people advice going into it, knowing someone is the key. I don't know how many people get jobs just from applying. It's just one of those things. You've got to be connected in that space.
You've heard it here, guys. Contact Christie-Lee. You know her now.
Well,
she's.
we'll
We'll pop her Instagram in,
anymore.
and we'll pop her website in.
Put your resumes in here. No, I've been out of there for a while now, so I don't know as many people as I used to. But
Yeah.
No, please don't send me your resumes.
Please, no.
I won't be able to help you.
Get all these people that are writing these cover letters and.
To whom it may concern.
I want that paycheck.
Paycheck sounds good.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
The end.
Scene. So thinking about some of the other jobs that you had, I know we talked about one a little while ago that was for a very short stint, and it was quite an unsafe environment it turned out to be. So I won't say anything. That's
I worked maybe 4 jobs before this, just casual jobs. This was my very first job out of high school, and those previous jobs that I'd had were always through family or a family friend, and I had got this job on my own. I don't know if it was through the paper or back then.
Oh, guys, we used to apply for jobs
Through the paper.
through the paper.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
So I got this job, and it was it doesn't even exist anymore, so we'll just say the name. I think it was called the Boat Shed, and they they hired out dinghies. They had like a little snack bar type thing, and the first week the owner was maybe in his 50s. I don't remember his name or anything. Just like
That's fine. He doesn't deserve to be named.
No, he doesn't.
I know the story, so I can say that.
Yeah. So in the first week, he told me I could eat and drink whatever food I wanted. So as a 17-year-old, you're like, whoa, awesome, scored.
Nice.
So I could eat any food or drink there. He was going to give me a pay rise already, straight away.
Hang on a minute. How long have you been there for?
This was in the first week.
Wow.
And
Not bad.
Yeah, then gave me the keys to open and close.
Yeah.
And he also mentioned about a boat show that we were going to go to in Coffs Harbour. So I went home and I told my mum, and I was so just innocent. I was like, yay, let's do this boat show, and I'm going to go. And I was like, you are absolutely not going to that. Don't be ridiculous. But I was annoyed at her because I wanted to go to this boat show.
Yeah, well, you're 17, so That's
trip.
annoying.
Yeah. What a trip. So anyway, I think it was the second week. I think it must have been 2 weeks roughly that I was there. And so we were in this, it was like a little container type of thing.
Kind of like a hut?
Like a hut, yes.
Cafe hut thingy majiggy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then his office was in a building that was sort of just like a couple of metres behind.
Yeah.
And he came into the little hut area this day and said, when we go to the boat show, we'll probably be staying in the same bed. And we'll probably be staying in the same room, probably be staying in the same bed, and I'll probably be having sex with you. And
what?
Yeah. So I had never experienced anything like that before, and I was in shock, and I just nodded my head. Obviously, I wasn't agreeing to that, but that's all I could do at the time. And I am very, very, very thankful that I'm a strong person. My mum taught me to speak up and all that sort of thing in regards to situations like that. And my nan at the time worked just a couple of minutes down the road, and I got my bag, I called her and I said, you need to come and get me now. And I went out front and went home, and my parents actually went down there and confronted him, and he denied everything, and then my mum punched him.
Yes.
And then we found out that he was doing that to other girls, and he was molesting his stepdaughter, and he ended up going to jail. So that was that situation. But I also found out there was a bait and tackle shop around the corner, and he said that he would walk past quite often to see if I was okay. And I didn't even realise, I didn't think anything of it at the time. But one thing my mum said to me after, and my mum is very overprotective, extremely overprotective. And one thing she said is that she had a funny feeling about that job, but didn't kind of, I actually had never asked her about it, so I don't know whether it was just, well, it's your first job, or kind of, you've got it on your own, or kind of let you be. But yeah, I actually used to tell the guys at the refinery to teach their daughters to say something, because there's not 1 second that I went, this is my fault, I'm not going to say anything to anyone. It was just an immediate reaction, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And that was it. So I always say, just tell them to be strong and to speak up if something like that happens. Yeah. Yeah. So thankfully it didn't go anywhere other than him saying that to me.
Nothing happened to
Nothing
you.
happened.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful too that he said that, and then he walked away.
Yeah.
Because being where we were too, you were kind of down this path by the water, and it wasn't a busy spot for people to, it wasn't like there's constant traffic going through there. So I'm just always so thankful that he said that, and then he left.
Yeah. And I guess it just shows for everyone listening, because we haven't really talked about any sort of first jobs, or like when you're under 18 type jobs, that a lot of teenagers do take up. Maybe they find it on their own, and if there's not enough research, or maybe your parents don't go and kind of scope out and maybe meet the boss.
Well, because my mum's so intuitive, so if she went there, I guarantee she would have said, you'll get another job.
And she wouldn't have even thought of something to that extent. There's no, you can have a bad feeling, but you're not thinking to that extreme. That's ridiculous, just to say to a 17-year-old, or any age.
Very confronting. I think that's why, because I felt a little bit stupid after, why am I nodding my head? Well, not why am I, why did I nod my head? But I was just in shock, and I didn't know what else to do.
Definitely. And I think for any females, that's kind of starts to become intuition for a lot of females from early on, to be agreeable. Yeah. And nod and go, okay, yes, because if you think maybe I need to push him away, or I need to yell at him or swear at him, or be disagreeable, you don't know how he will react. Exactly. Because if he's just told you that. So it's conditioning for females, and that's a whole other thing, and we're not going to get into that. But I guess this is probably one of the most important stories that I wanted you to tell on this, because a lot of people send off the children, drop them off at work, and it could be a very reputable chain as well. It doesn't have to be this this water sports hire hut with some snacks, you know, and it's like just a one-man operation. It could be anywhere.
Yeah.
And just to be careful and maybe, you know, shake hands with the boss. It could take 2 seconds. So you can kind of just get a feel of the person and go, okay, well, that's going to be a boss from now on. Okay, I've got an idea about who they are and what they're about and blah, blah. Yeah. And you're not going to be there all shift to take care of the child. Like, that's working wherever they're working, but maybe don't be so blind about what your
and
child's
I guarantee that my mum would have felt guilty for that. Like I said, I've actually never spoken to her about it, but I'm just lucky that I had that reaction and that I've got a very supportive family and they didn't go, oh, did that really happen? That's what's happened. Come and get me out of here.
And just even the guy from the bait and tackle, he knew something was up.
Yeah, I don't think he knew exactly, but he knew that it was creepy and I think because there was such a high turnover of female, just young girls, really. So he just wanted to keep an eye on things, which was lovely. Yeah,
but it's also quite sad that he had to do that. You know, that's
that
sad.
He noticed it.
And then
the guy had a habit of what he was hiring as well, what sort of person he was hiring.
Yeah. Yes. So he must have just had a feeling and thought, well, I'm just going to go and check and see if everything's okay.
Yeah. Because you're chuffed. You've got this job by yourself.
Yeah.
How amazing.
Free food.
Free food. It's all happening.
Yeah.
You know, but you had no idea at the end of the day that was what was going to be said to you or how that situation could have progressed.
Yeah.
Like there's so many risks and hazards with it and all that. Like,
what was interesting after that job, I ended up getting a job that I was at for 5 years. I worked at an ink cartridge, an ink cartridge warehouse. And even though the supervisor of the warehouse wasn't as old as this guy, but he was, I don't know how old Raph is. He's a good 10 to 15 years older than me. And when I first met him, because I'd had that previous experience, I was a little bit cautious of him. But I ended up going to India for his wedding, and he's been such an amazing friend to me since I was 17. But it was just that initial, like, he's older. Yeah. I need to sort of just keep my wits about me.
Yeah. So it was, I guess it's like residue from the other job that kind of made you.
I was only a couple of weeks in between because it was my stepdad's best friend who owned the ink cartridge business and got me the job. And it was just that I didn't hold on to it because I ended up getting to know him and trusting him, but it was just that initial, he's older than me, I need to just keep my eye out. Yeah. No, that's just a good lesson. I hope anyone that wants to take note of that, I hope that's not rampant anywhere or anything like that, but just keep your wits about you and maybe do some research about, talk to some other, if it's a small business like that, talk to some other small businesses maybe that are around the place as well. And what's a reputation? What are they like?
Has there been a string of 17-year-old females?
Only last a week at a time.
Yeah, and then they just tend to go. And I mean, that's on the other side of that. That is sometimes the 17-year-old, 16-year-old going,
not working.
Not what I don't want to do this.
Yeah, not working hard or not liking it or
whatever. But it's just it's not a good story, but it's a story to help
learn
people,
a lesson
to learn a lesson from, and we haven't really I know I haven't sort of mentioned anything about first jobs to that kind of situation.
So not nice first job.
No, definitely not. So I guess next we'll talk about dance society a little bit. This is what she's actually doing now.
Yes. Yeah, so Amy mentioned about the safety stuff when it comes to dance, and I went a bit blank. Thought, there's not much. But then when I thought about it, so I created a thing called Sip and Dance. And it's really interesting. You can't just go and get public liability insurance from a normal Amy, Allianz, whatever. You have to go through a broker, a dance broker.
And not me, I don't do insurance.
Send your resumes.
Send your resumes and business cases to me.
No, so I called up and said, this is the concept, this is what I want to do. And they said, if you let them have 3 drinks and dance, we're not going to cover you. So I am really onto people. Not that I sit there and like, oh, that's the third camera, I'm watching you. But
Dance.
yeah, I know.
I'm watching
Onto it.
you.
No, but I have them sign a waiver, and they say that I always joke and say, well, if you fall over and you sue me, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Not mine.
Yeah.
Oh, don't sue me, actually, I say. So just make sure that they're having 2 drinks and they're not drinking heaps beforehand as well, because at the end of the day, it is a dance class. It's not a party for you to get pissed and muck around. Like, I'm there to try and teach you. It's exactly the same as sip and paint. You're there to learn. You're not going in there a professional artist.
Yeah.
You're learning. You need to listen to the teacher and, take their instructions. And also, I think just the way that I teach, I specialise in adult beginner dance, so I break everything down. So instead of going, oh, we're here and then we're turning, I'll go, okay, well, if you've got your left foot popped, you need to lower that so you can then step on your right foot and change that balance and then turn around. So I suppose I'm making, without me even thinking about it, I'm making it more safe for them to dance because it's less probability, is that the word I'm looking for? Less chance. Yeah. Oh, we'll go chance. Less chance of them
Thanks, Tasha.
falling over. Probability doesn't sound right. Less chance of them falling over and hurting themselves because I'm making them dance in the best, easiest way possible.
Yeah, for them to comprehend, to do it.
Yes, because I have so many beginner people. They come to me, I've got 2 left feet, I can't dance, I can't do a routine. And by the end of it, I've got them dancing because of the method that I've created to teach beginners.
Yeah. Because, like you say, you don't want drunks.
No.
That it's not a club.
No.
And it's not a bar. And it's, it is essentially a class, just longer.
Yeah, and thankfully, I've never had anyone fall at all. But I've had people who have drank beforehand. They've been at the RSL drinking beforehand. And some even don't realise that it's a dance class. They just think it's a disco type free dance vibe.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, like, oh, we're learning a routine. Yes. 2, actually.
Surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's only happened a couple of times. I had one on my first Brittany one. So I had this, so I do themed events, and had a girl message me and say, I love Brittany, I'm going to do it for my hens night. I wasn't going to do anything for my hens. So I thought, if you're not going to do anything, surely you're not going to be that crazy. She wasn't, but she came with, I think, 23 people. And quite a few of them were stumbling. And right before we were going to start, 5 minutes before we were starting, and that night I just happened to have a girl working for me, my mum and my auntie, and thank goodness I did because they smashed a glass, and we're obviously quickly trying to clean it up, and so that I've had that odd time, but most people are pretty good and realise what the concept is. It's not. It's those couple of drinks if you need a little bit more confidence. Yes. But not just for give me all the drinks and I'm going to start doing the worm. Well, they can do the worm if they want. I do give them a free dance section, but it's not just.
I don't think I've ever decided to do the worm ever.
You should.
Isn't that what that Olympic breakdancer tried to do but failed and just instead?
Oh, I didn't see that.
I didn't see it.
You've missed that. Okay. Well,
no, I've seen. Anyway, I won't explain. But the concept of this come from liquid courage, needing people to get. So we were just talking about having liquid courage and how your dance society and sip and dance and everything come about. So what the idea?
Yeah, so I had a lady in my class 4 years ago who made a joke, and she said, oh, I need a drink to get this dance. And I just blurted out, I should do a sip and dance, because I'd heard about the sip and paint, the sip and macrame, the sip and pottery, and so many sip hands, and it just word vomited out. And the ladies had such crazy reaction. It was like a movie. They all came closer to me at the same time and started yelling at me. You could use the community centres and where were you there? That's a good idea. And, blah, 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 blah. And they knew what I was like with ideas. I get an idea, I just run with it straight away, or I can't function. And they said, next week, we want to know what you've got organised, and we have my website by the next week, and my first event booked, and my social media, and they all just.
I can verify that, yes, with a little boutique. Yeah.
No, it all happened very fast, and then my services have grown into dance retreats and flash mobs, and I suppose that's a safety thing too, because with flash mobs you never know who's going to be there in the public, and if they're going to be getting up and moving around, and we've had people jump in and dance, and so that's sort of another aspect that people need to be aware of. Just flash mobs are random, and you have to just roll with punches and do what works at the time.
Yeah, it's all about the surroundings. Be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
And don't trip over a picnic mat.
No,
Yeah,
please
that
don't.
thing. And did you mention that you do wedding dances?
No.
That's another new thing as well.
Yeah, first dance lessons, which is wonderful, because how many weddings have I been to, Amy?
Oh, it's 27 dresses plus that movie. That's what it is. It should be the sequel. 30 something? 31?
30, I think. 30.
Okay.
Or right on 30.
Unbelievable.
People are like, wow, you must have a lot of friends. I said, well, my family's big and my mum's got a lot of friends. And when you lived in the same place your whole entire life, you accumulate people.
Yeah.
So it just happens.
It sounds like
But I love weddings. I love weddings. And I love,
accumulate people. It sounds like you're collecting them.
yeah,
Thank you very much, Christie-Lee.
you're very welcome.
It's been great, and like I said, it's just come full circle because you were there for the first episode. So
Aww.
yes, long time listener, first time caller.
Yeah.
Long time caller, first time listener.
No. It's a long time listener, first time
You were called before anyone listened.
It could go either way now. Really,
Either way.
So yes, thank you very much, and the stories are great, and I hope people get little morsels of information from all of your stories, because I think they're quite lots of information and experience. You know, everyone has different experiences at work, good, bad, or in between, and I think it's just interesting your varied career as well. I think that was part of why I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah.
Tasha's behind the scenes and she's listening away.
Well, I went from shutdown to refinery back to childcare.
Yeah.
And back to the shutdown and back to childcare, so it was very different. Very different.
So we'll mention all her socials and stuff, and she is based on the Gold Coast in Queensland.
Remember, no resumes.
Oh yeah, well underline that. No, do not send a resume to her. That was a joke. But yes, there'll be socials, and if you are interested in any way of contacting her about any of her services, they're all on her socials and that, and based on the Gold Coast in Queensland. But yes, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for
I've
having
Seen
me.
Things. It's been wonderful. See you on the flip side.